Welcome back. And for what is making the rounds in the commodities market, Bosun will take that up with one of the research analysts with financial derivatives company, Pamela Bassi-Duke. Bosun, over to you now, and of course, Pamela.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chimeze. Quite a bit in the world of commodities. Of course, if you look at the weather conditions around the world, in particular Europe, that's having impact on grains production and prices as well around the global marketplace as we speak. Then you also have the global sugar prices down a little bit. We have a bit of external reserves down also due to market interventions, the FX by the financial regulator. Then the oil prices also are trying to react to some of the stories around geopolitical issues between the U.S., Turkey and Iran, and of course Saudi Arabia and Russia as well are putting their own oil in the markets as well. So there's a bit of all the stories moving around at the global marketplace. How do they all impact on our markets and our consumers here? That's one big story that Pamela and the rest of our team at Financial Derivatives Company have put together. And that's what this is all about here at the Stock Exchange. It's good to have you here.
Yeah,
thank you very much. You're the first to appear here in the studio as a so we appreciate that from FDC. Yes, very interesting. Pamela, where are we as far as the big stories regarding the global, the commodities market space? Do you think there are some of the stories that I've just talked about, do they make the headlines, as it were, with you and the rest of your team?
Definitely. I mean, we've seen harsh weather conditions in the U.S. and other producing regions for grains. So we've seen that wheat has been down, and also corn has been affected. So that's really playing into the market. Then we've also seen that sugar prices are down, as you know, and then they're down by like 32.8%, and that's a lot. So it's at a low right now, as the 35-month low sugar prices, but that's majorly due to health concerns. So yes, those are major issues.
Folks are eating less sugar.
Yes, definitely. Everyone is concerned about their health. So health concerns are playing into the prices. We also have the fact that the tax is being levied on sugar because the government is trying, or government of countries are all trying to reduce sugar intake. Why? Because it's going to reduce the amount of sugar that we take, and then it's also going to reduce health conditions on us. And then at the same time, government obviously does not have to pay so much on health bills, so that would help to reduce health bills on it. So that's
I think that makes sense. Yes, I hope we can have something like that here as well. But again, that would also will have to impact sugar companies such as Dangote Sugar and others if you raise maybe prices or taxes or consumption tax on sugar, for example.
Yeah, definitely. But you know that we Nigeria imports we import a lot of sugar. Yeah, even these big companies too import a lot of sugar, but then they import and then refine it. So if we have sugar prices at a reduced amount, then it's good news for them in that sense, because then you're looking at reduction of foreign exchange losses, you're looking at cost of production reducing as well, and then that feeds into their margins, so they have like positive margins and whatnot. So that really it helps as well for
sugar is a big story, but I'm sure we have other big stories right now, in particular from crude oil space. So let's talk about the oil market.
Oh, definitely. So what we've seen is that prices have been going down. I mean, before we saw that OPEC had increased production. We saw that the U.S. also had increased its production. But now we're seeing that tensions on, or the U.S. sanctions on likes of Turkey, China, is really feeding into the economy. So we're seeing slow growth in those economies. And then in that, it's also impacting their demand for this oil. So we're seeing it dampen demand. So that's why we're seeing that prices are falling, basically.
That's surprising. This morning saw the economic numbers out for the month of July from China, showing that the Chinese economy actually slowed down last month.
Yes, it did.
That's not so much of a good news.
Yes, definitely, because they obviously demand for oil. They demand a lot for oil, and so with their economies going down, then there's less demand for this, because they less money to actually demand for these oil products. So,
but at 72, 77, this is 3% below July's average. That's what you guys put out there. So,
yeah.
Well, but again, we've seen 74, we've seen 75, we've seen 78.
Yes, we have.
So despite the geopolitical issues with Iran and whatever, prices are not moving significantly higher,
yes.
even with those geopolitical rhetoric about.
And then we've also seen that the U.S., the dollar is stronger now. So it gained against 6 baskets of currencies. So that once the dollar becomes more increases, oil becomes more expensive. So you start to see the price of this oil fall because more people are demanding less of this product. So that's
demand less of oil.
Yes.
If I have dollar assets, I'd rather hold the dollar assets. Why buy oil?
Exactly.
It makes sense. So it's just a way of trading things. But then if you look at our external reserves here, folks is beginning to gain front page, well, some discussion about why we thought we're almost at the doorstep of $50 billion in terms of FX reserves. Now we're looking at 46.7 thereabouts.
Yeah.
And why do you think that? It's not really because oil prices is down or our production is declining, because our rig count is increasing a little bit.
Yeah. So in aspects of oil rig counts, that we have 2 types. We have the production and have the exploration rig counts. So the fact that our oil rig counts are increasing doesn't necessarily mean that production is increasing, but then it just shows that it's indicative of an increase in all activities and then investment in that sector. In terms of a depletion in our external reserves, we're seeing that there's an outflow, or we're seeing an increase in foreign portfolio outflows because more people are taking out their money to put in countries like the US, which have increased. We know that they increased interest rates as at some months ago, it's at 1.75 to 2%. And then even the Bank of England increased its interest rate. So everyone, it's like people are moving, taking their investments out from Nigeria, which we've seen that our interest rates have been steady, and then we see that treasury bills have declined. So they're moving them out from Nigeria to these other states to take advantage of profits or gains, to make gains.
Interest rate differentials.
Yes.
So if I was buying US 10-year at about 1.5% before, and I'm looking at 3.1% right now, in dollar terms, that's a lot of money. So I'd rather pull it out of Nigeria and put it in the United States. But in terms of what is good news and what is not so good, the bad news is that our stock market, of course, this is where the home of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So it's in a bear territory, and that is not so much of a good news for our consumer good companies.
Oh, definitely. I mean, at the start of the year, we were regarded as the best globally. But now we've seen that the negative sentiments have kicked in, and then we've seen that there's been a fall in our performance, or a negative performance so far. And then we've lost about 20% from the peak in January till now. And then what's the reason behind this? We've seen for an outflow, like I said, of foreign portfolios. And then we've seen, So it just shows that the stock market really is really volatile. So that's
volatile to the downside. That is one heartbreaking story we cover here every day. But again, we have some story. If we pull back into the agri sector, when we're looking at what we really produce locally, and this is very important for some of the consumer goods even listed on the exchange, like Nestle and the rest. When you talk about sorghum, which is one major agri product that is a major production output from the middle to the northern part of the country. Is this still one big story there for us?
Definitely. This is one commodity that we have comparative advantage over. I mean, sorghum is another word for guinea corn, for those that are not too familiar with that. So it's used for making many things. It's used as a substitute for barley. It's used in the production of sorghum flour, used for livestock feed. And then it's important.
And the brewers use it as well?
Definitely, they use it as well. So it really is important to us as a country. And then remember when we had Forex issues as our last year, and then Nigeria had to look for local content. We had to go into local production too. So this was one of the products Nigeria took into. So we substituted it for importation of barley, and then now we see the brewers using it, like the likes of Guinness and Nigerian breweries. So it's a major crop for Nigeria.
But if you look at what this is one big business $51.7 billion total global production in 2016. Yeah. How much of this do we? How much of this do we really have?
So we'll say 7 billion, approximately 7 billion.
$7 billion out of $51.7 billion.
Yes.
That looks good. That's not so bad,
yes.
but we can do more.
Yeah, we have the potential to increase to double.
But if you look at the areas where these sorghum are produced, you're talking about some parts of the country that are under some insecurity issues.
Yes, in North Central, so we have the herdsmen conflict.
Yeah.
So that's another that would be a major issue for us as well, because any disruptions in in those areas means there's going to be a reduction in supply, and then that takes prices high.
But again, if we keep producing locally for domestic consumption, the brewers will need it. And if they can source it locally, it's better for them.
Definitely.
If they don't get that steady supply, it's a problem for them. They have to look for alternative.
Yes.
And we don't want them to increase the price of their beverages.
No,
because,
we don't.
Nobody wants that. Not with the excise duty they're facing. But again, what else is making headlines globally? We understand quite a number of issues still there with oil. We don't know. We have an idea what will be the main focus for the next OPEC meeting, and what are we talking about there? So
OPEC will have to take into consideration sanctions on Iran, because we know that the US is sanctioning Iran. They want to reduce their importation of oil to basically zero. So they will have to take that into consideration. They have to look at the OPEC's the US production. How has it increased? Has it decreased? And their activities. So that they will have to take all of this into consideration, and other political uncertainties. And then they will need to decide if they still need to increase their production, considering the fact that even Venezuela is having some political uncertainties.
Buckling at the knees, as it were.
Exactly. Yes. So they need to take all of this into consideration to know if, do we need to keep with our increase in production, or do we need to cut? But I definitely think it's not a cut. It's going to definitely probably sustain their increase in production.
But again, at the same time, we're seeing Russia and Saudi Arabia taking advantage of the sanctions on Iran.
Yes, they've increased in production.
If I'm in their position, I'm going to do the same.
Yeah,
they are the big boys.
Yes.
The US put Iran on his knees. Well, as far as oil and sanctions concerned, hold on a second, I'm going to pump more of my oil into the market. Yeah. Even at current prices, it's still good. Yes. Even though Saudi Arabia is not getting $80 or $100 yet.
Yeah, not
yet. Is that likely still before the end of the year?
Well, they claim that they want to put prices around that level, but they have to take into consideration other things. They have to take into consideration what the increase in prices, increase in production will do to prices. They have to also take into consideration their what they call it, political ties with the US. So they have to take into consideration all of these things.
Crude prices go up, and retail prices at the pump stations become something else around the world. I think that's something we need to watch. Let the Saudis just keep it a little bit where we have at the moment. Thank you very much, Pamela Basiduk, one of the economists and research analysts at Financial Derivatives Company, live here at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Chimize, back to you at the headquarters studios.
All right, thank you very much, Bosun. It's actually interesting to know that quite a lot of people are beginning to take their health seriously by reducing their intake of sugar. Well, I hope you have too, Bosun. Have you?
You don't eat more sugar, and I give you that, and I give you that. You don't eat more sugar. I know. You don't touch sugar.
I don't eat sugar at all. Anyway, we'll take another break, and when we come back, we will be looking at the recently launched Trader Money initiative by the federal government. Do stay with us.